just now being able to figure out that I guess my sitting on the porch, the Wi-Fi or whatever, I hope y'all are here. Some of y'all will get here. I will leave this on the rewatch, but I'm going to continue on with this appeal. It talks about on September 20th, Melanie Gibb and her fiance David Warwick came to Idaho for the weekend to visit Lori. Melanie and Lori were also intending to record a podcast. Okay, hello, Granny Whisper. I was starting on the porch, and I guess it buffered or something. It disconnected and then connected again. But anyway, let's move forward here. Let's get this over with because we've got a day of court with the Brandon Boudreaux trial, and I want to get through this to prove a point that these appellate attorneys don't know what the hell they're talking about. Good morning. So let's get to the part where it's September 20th, Melanie Gibb, and this again, y'all, is Lori's appellate attorney. You can read the 62-page appeal in Idaho. I'm proving a point here that they don't want to include all of the facts because all of the facts on Lori would make her look guilty as hell. Sorry, y'all. Sorry about the problem with the live stream. It was really unavoidable. But on September 20th, Melanie Gibb and her fiance David Warwick came to Idaho for the weekend to visit Lori. And why is that? Why did David Warwick and Melanie Gibb need to go visit Lori for the weekend? And it just so happened to be the weekend that JJ was murdered. And that Tylee had already been murdered a couple of weeks beforehand, right? Right, just me. I apologize. I don't know. It disconnected and all that stuff. But anyway, let's get back to it. Melanie and David did not see Tylee while they were there. And of course, that is a truthful statement because Tylee was buried in Chad's backyard at the time. They did see and interact with JJ, however. They would later testify that on the evening of September 22nd, Alex came inside holding a sleeping JJ, taking him upstairs. And y'all, I'm telling you, as I sit here, I will put my life on it. That situation never happened. That situation never happened. That was made up. That was all made up. Late into the evening, Melanie and Lori recorded their podcast, with David also participating. But does this appellate attorney, does he put in there that Melanie Gibb sent Lori a text saying, "Where are you?" at around, 6:30, 7 o'clock at night? The next morning, David and Melanie left to continue their trip. They did not see JJ, also did not return to school. In early October, and of course he leaves out all the evidence of they have, where you could see that Melanie Gibb, when her and David Warwick left, they were on the phone with Chad and Lori on and off all that day. In early October, Chad's wife Tammy was in her driveway having just gotten out of the car when a masked person approached and fired what appeared to be a paintball gun at her. She asked him what he was doing and the person ran away. Within a few days of that event, someone fired a gun from the back of a Jeep at Melanie Pulowski's soon-to-be ex-husband Brandon Boudreaux in Arizona. The shooter missed him and Brandon stepped on the gas, and the incident also became part of the state's case of trial under Idaho Rule of Evidence 404B, which is one of the appeals issues. They say none of that should have been charged, and not charged, but 404B material should not have been used in Lori's trial in Idaho. On October 19th, Tammy Daybell died suddenly, ostensibly in her sleep. Ostensibly in her sleep, y'all. The coroner initially ruled the death to be natural. Chad chose not to have an autopsy completed, and Tammy was buried in Utah within a few days. He collected life insurance for her death. And that's all this appellate attorney is going to talk about. He's not going to talk about Lori and Chad's conversations, her iCloud, or any of the stuff. None of this stuff about Julie Rose spirits knocking on Tammy Daybell's door. None of this stupid ass stuff. On November 5th, Chad and Lori were married in Hawaii, and that's all this appellate attorney, he's just giving the background, right? He's sanitizing it. He's generalizing it. In November, JJ's grandmother contacted the police seeking a welfare check because she had not heard from her grandson in quite some time. The Rexburg police contacted Lori at her townhome, and she told them that JJ was with her friend, Melanie Gibb, in Arizona. The police contacted Melanie Gibb, who, quote, shared that she had him, but then she didn't have him anymore, and Lori had him. She then called them back and told them that JJ had never been with her. And the question really is, y'all, is why would Melanie Gibbs, you could say, oh, it just was like a sucker punch her. She didn't realize anything was going on. No, she lied. She lied because she knew the deal, y'all. These are my views. After this encounter, Lori and Chad left Rexburg and went to Hawaii. Doesn't talk about any of the stuff where they threw all the stuff in the back of Alex's vehicle the night that they knew that the shit was fixing to hit the fan there. In the meantime, Alex Cox had married Zulema. He moved back to Arizona to live with her. And on December 12th, Alex died. There is no evidence that foul play was involved in his death. You know how I feel about that, y'all. Tammy's body was exhumed and examined. The coroner revised the cause of death to asphyxiation. The children's whereabouts continued to be unknown. And, they were known. Lori, Chad, and Melanie Gibbs, Zulema, all of them knew. They might not have known they were in Chad's backyard, but they knew that Tylee and JJ were dead. So this whole thing about the children's whereabouts were unknown, I think that these cult people could have went to the police and said, I think they're dead. Of course, Melanie Gibb had to just magically, before they announced that Tylee and JJ's bodies had been found, she's doing an interview with Nate Eaton of East Idaho News to explain, oh, I just felt so sick, she said, when she found out that Lori and Chad wanted her to lie to police. But let's get to the good stuff here, y'all. Because we know all that's a crock of shit from Melanie Gibbs, Zulema. It is. There might be a little bit of truth laced in there, but they're liars because they knew damn well Tylee and JJ were dead, in my opinion. But how about this? One of the appeals issues was about who, y'all? Attorney Mark Means. Immediately upon her return, Lori retained, of course it talks about how on February 20, police arrested Lori in Hawaii, blah, blah, blah. She was extradited to Idaho. But immediately upon her return, Lori retained attorney Mark Means as her counsel, with Chad supplying the funds in the desertion case. Means would eventually be her sole attorney in that case. And this is what that appeals court wants the appeals judges to see it his way. But as we read through it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Around that same time, Chad retained John Pryor to defend him against any forthcoming criminal charges. Pryor took the place of a previous attorney that Chad had retained, but who did not intend to represent Chad if a criminal case came to fruition. Several weeks after Means entered his appearance on April 28th of 2020, he issued a press release that he, Mark Means, represented Chad and requested the media to please direct all requests for communications and statements of the like to his office. So he was absolutely Chad's attorney, y'all. Mark Means posted a similar message on his Twitter account. That same day, Lori called Chad from a jail phone. In that call, Chad indicated that Mark Means currently represented both Lori and him to some extent, though Chad told her he was eventually going to go with the other guy, meaning John Pryor. At Lori's bail reduction hearing, Means informed the judge that he represented both Lori and Chad. Within 6 weeks, on July 9th of 2020, police searched Chad's property and discovered the bodies of the missing children. While the search was ongoing, Chad attempted to drive away from the scene but was arrested. Based on the evidence found during the search of the Daybell property, the state charged both Chad and Lori with conspiracy to alter or destroy evidence. These were the first criminal charges against Chad. Mark Means again appeared as Lori's attorney in her case, and John Pryor now appeared in Chad's case as his counsel. Now, let's get to it. The state's first attempt to remove attorney Mark Means at Lori's initial appearance on the destruction of evidence charges in June, the judge asked Means whether he represented any co-conspirator listed in the complaint, and Means responded that he did not. And this is memory lane. Do y'all remember that? Chad got arrested the day the children's bodies were found. Come here, buddy. Opie won't leave me alone, y'all. And I was like, why is it destruction and alteration and concealment of evidence? Why ain't they got him for murder? She indicated that a CID, as did Chad at a later hearing, and the judge concluded that while Means had represented both Chad and Lori before Chad was charged, creating a conflict of interest, both Lori and Chad had knowingly and voluntarily waived the conflict. The state charges Chad and Lori Daybell in a single indictment, but the court separates the cases for pretrial purposes. And the reason I'm bringing this up is we kind of remember how all that played out, but not in terms of the legality, like generally speaking in an appellate brief here. So it goes into all of that, and I'm going to skip through it because you can read it on East Idaho News. It's a 62-page appellate brief. I want to get to this part where it talks about while the motion for Means disqualification was pending, for the state had a motion to disqualify Mark Means, an issue bubbled up, y'all. These are the words that this appellate lawyer wants to use. An issue bubbled up regarding Lori's communication with an attorney for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Means learned that a clinician at the state hospital had allegedly urged Lori to call the church to inquire about the possibility of obtaining legal counsel paid by the church to take the place of her appointed public defender, co-counsel Jim Archibald. Because at first, while this motion to disqualify Mark Means was going on, Jim Archibald came on board with Mark Means. And here it is, y'all. She's got Mark Means and she's got Jim Archibald, but she still wants to get a paid-for attorney from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And y'all, think about it. Why would she call them if she didn't think, well, I can get an attorney paid for by them? Because what, y'all? She's a devout member? Huh? A devout member? Based on that, Means filed a motion alleging certain violations by the state because the state got a phone call from one of these attorneys at the, McConkey and all them, the legal department there at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Y'all remember that? And he said the state said it was only a 1-minute conversation saying she was trying to find a paid-for attorney from that church. And that's when Mark Means filed a motion alleging certain violations of the state, when he should have been saying, if this hooker really wants me as her attorney, why is she reaching out to get another attorney? Why is she doing that? Which really seals it in my view. Means issued subpoenas to various entities to get to the bottom of the contact between the church and the prosecutor. The state responded by denying impropriety and claiming that the prosecutor had a very short conversation, about 1 minute, with an attorney at the law firm representing the church, before notifying co-counsel Archibald of the contact. And it just pissed Mark Means off that they didn't call him. Well, Archie is one of the best death penalty defense attorneys in that state. Means' allegations and legal machinations clearly touched a nerve with the state, which again urged the court in its responsive filing that Means had unwaivable and unethical conflict of interest due to his past dual representation. Mr. Means' continued involvement in this case is inappropriate and creates issues for appeal, said the state of Idaho. So this appellate attorney, one of the issues is that she wanted Mark Means, right? That's what he's saying earlier. I skipped over it, but it's in there where she didn't get to choose her attorney. Well, if she has got Mark Means and Archie, right? But she's reaching out to get another attorney paid for by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It seems to me the only attorney that she really wanted to choose was one from that church that would give her validity, which they got away from her like the plague, just like they always do when this shit happens. So that was one of the reasons, but now they go into this competency and demands of a speedy trial, y'all. And y'all remember 10 months in the spa up there. Daybell demanded her right to a speedy trial, a position that she reiterated repeatedly through the case. Almost immediately, the state filed a motion let's see where I'm at. They filed a motion, let's see, 19 and 20. Sorry, y'all, I'm trying to get this together. 19, 23. Let me just get to this. This appellate attorney, y'all, this appellate attorney is going to tell these appellate judges the summarization of Lori's trial in Idaho on the murders of J.J. Tiley and Tammy. The trial proceeded as scheduled, lasting about 6 weeks with 60 witnesses. In addition to the basic historical facts recited in the brief, the state's case at trial relied on other circumstantial evidence, including cell phone geolocation data, placing Alex Cox at the burial sites, evidence of text messages and emails exchanged among alleged co-conspirators, and witness testimony about Lori and Chad's religious beliefs and statements. The defense countered that there was no physical evidence tying Lori to any of the deaths, that the alleged conspiracy to murder anyone was entirely circumstantial and speculative, and that the state was using prior bad acts to shore up its case and imply guilt. Well, I'll tell you what, when it talks about there was no physical evidence tying Lori to any of the details, she was the mother of those children. She was the murderer of her own children. She absolutely, that's all anyone needs to know. I mean, if you want to tack on as JJ at zero yet and all this other bullshit, you can do it, but the woman was the mother of these children. The jury ultimately found Lori guilty of all counts. The district court sentenced her to 3 consecutive terms of life in prison with no possibility of parole for the first-degree murders, 2 concurrent sentences of life without parole for conspiracy to commit murder, and concurrent sentences of 5 to 10 years in prison for grand theft. Of the 60 witnesses, y'all, the undersigned calculates that at least 19 of those 60 witnesses in the case against Lori Hooker Daybell, 19 testified in whole or in part about 404B evidence from Arizona. And he also states that at the time when they brought in the 404B evidence from Arizona into her Idaho trial, that she had not been charged yet. Y'all recall, when she got convicted in Idaho, that's when Arizona opened the floodgates and decided to have her extradited. So, yes, she told Mark he was her son in another life. She manipulated him. Yes, exactly. So, why is it that old KJ would bring all this up now that we're in day 3 of Brandon Boudreaux's trial? Is to remind everyone that ultimately this hooker gets more rights than these victims' family members. She gets these reputable appellate attorneys who can file these briefs for her and all of that. Yeah, I know, y'all. I know. Hello, Lily John. So we got the trial coming up again today, day 3 of Lori Hooker Daybell. This did not turn out the way OKJ wanted it this morning because I lost connection on the porch. And, I'm going to have to figure out something better to deal with that. Maybe install another Wi-Fi thing at the other end of the house. The house is just too long, and I love being on my porch. Leaving doors open in the past helped, but it don't help now. Anyway, I love you all. Y'all get to Crusher K. Easton of Difficult Research. And in summary, she's not going anywhere. Her convictions will not be overturned on appeal. She can sit here all day long. She can talk about how she's going to appeal this and appeal that because Judge Boreski and whatever else she can come up with, that's what she'll do. She wants to say in court, quit yelling at me, Judge, quit yelling at me, when they've got proof positive he didn't yell. She's going to do whatever it is she can do just crawl out from under that evil-ass rock of hers. She wants her freedom. She's never going to get her freedom again. That's all I can really say about the whole situation. But it is rich, is it not, that this woman could go do all this terrible stuff and then turn around and want either a new trial or she wants to be free or anything like that. It's pathetic. And with that said, I love you all. Thanks for putting up with me and keep on looking.